Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show, folks. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and we have a fun topic today. We're going to be talking with Trista Harris about the future of good. And so this is going to be a discussion that you're going to want to replay, I think, over and over again to get the notes on this one. So stick around. Trista, welcome to the show. We're just thrilled to have you.
Devin, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you and your audience.
Well, we appreciate that. I've got to just jump right in here. I'm kind of just champing at the bit here to talk to you a little bit about this crazy picture of you with the robot hug. What is going on here?
So I was at a futurist conference, the Abundance 360 Network, and they brought the CEO of the company that's developed this robot, who's intended to replace a human on a production line. So you don't have to program it. You move its arms and you show it what you want it to do, and it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and costs a lot less than a person would cost to have on that production line. And so I think there is possibility in robotics and artificial intelligence of freeing humans from repetitive work. There are some challenges on the horizon, obviously, that we're doing a lot of work at FutureGood to think about what does a more beautiful and equitable future look like, where we can use these tools, but not get the sort of dystopian science fiction version of the future that I think many of your viewers are probably a little worried about.
It is easy to worry about the future, and the future is kind of here. In the last year, my use of technology has changed more than any time since I bought my first computer in 1985. So this is a long time. I've been using tech, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really wild.
Yeah.
How do you see this impacting the future of good, the future of philanthropy?
Yeah, I think that there is a ton of innovation that's happening in artificial intelligence. I've been watching AI for the last 10 to 15 years, and my feeling about AI has been, this isn't worth my time. Like you try tools and you go, I could do it faster. I could do it better. This is really clunky. When I tried ChatGPT, I was like, oh, this is okay. We're here. I get it. We are now in this place where artificial intelligence is going to be driving a lot of our work. And for the social sector, this can be a huge benefit. How do we use these tools to free up time on fundraising? How do we develop customized fundraising letters for a donor who is in their mid-40s and is most interested in your XYZ program? I mean, suddenly we can move to a place where we're harnessing the power of technology to get rid of that sort of repetitive work that we have within the sector and free up humans to do work that only humans can do, spending time with people, strengthening our community, strengthening our democracy. I think we're building a future where that is possible. The caution of these times are many companies and many nonprofits and foundations see these tools and they go, oh, good, we're going to let go of some of our staff. We don't need as many. We can get a lot more done with less. And suddenly we have an economy where the only people that are working are the robots and they're not buying anything. And so we need to move to a future where we're taxing these tools appropriately and making sure that those dollars go into things like universal basic income. For organizations, I think we're going to move. In the Industrial Revolution, we moved from 80 hours a week to 40 hours a week because of the technological innovation. I think with this AI and robotics revolution, we could move from 40 hours a week of work to 20 hours a week of work, which would be amazing for society as long as we're still paying people for 40 hours a week of work. So we've got some really important conversations that are coming up where we have to decide, what do we want our ideal future to look like?
This really is just a fascinating conversation because it is so scary to think about jobs and things. I remember it's been almost a decade since I had a conversation with an Uber driver in the early days of Uber.
Yes.
Where he's telling me he really aspired to be a truck driver. And I was thinking, dude, that career is going away.
Yeah.
You don't want to jump into that. In 5 years, it's gone. Well, of course, it's been nearly a decade, and it's
Yeah.
still not gone.
Yeah.
But we are closer every day to that reality. So it's scary to be thinking about that. I like the way you're beginning to frame some of this thinking. Now, you have written a book,
Mhm.
Future of Good,
Yeah.
and in that book, uh, it is kind of a cool thing. You talk about Richard Branson
Mhm.
because he's in the book, and in this picture, he's literally it has his head in the book.
Yeah.
Tell us about your connect. You had him on your show. You've been out to Necker Island a time
Yeah.
or two. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about your book and your connection to Richard Branson.
So in 2015, I had an amazing leadership fellowship. And as one of the things that they wanted you to think about is how you were using this fellowship to stretch your network, and who is the person that you wanted to connect with. And so other participants said, oh, I want to talk to this professor at the U of M. I'd like to meet this author. And I thought I could do that now. I could reach out to the university professor. I could reach out to the author. Who is the hard person to reach that will help me get a clear idea about what the future of philanthropy looks like? And so immediately Richard Branson came to mind. His philanthropy is amazing, and it's about solving some of the biggest challenges that exist in society: cleaning the oceans, dealing with climate change, stopping the war on drugs, ending global conflicts. I mean, these are no small problems. And he has figured out how to leverage some of his companies for that transformative change that he wants to see in the world. And I wanted to ask him, how and why did this happen? And so the other folks in my cohort said, I don't have a Richard Branson connection for you. I don't know how to make this connection so that you can have this conversation. He's a hard person to connect to. And a couple months later, there was a notice that he was speaking at this National Philanthropy Conference. That's an organization that I was really well connected to. And so I arranged with them that I would be able to do this interview with him before he gave his keynote. He agreed to do the interview because he spends probably about 80% of his time on his philanthropy. And people just want to talk to him about like going to space and how does it feel to be so rich and have your own island. People don't want to talk to him about his philanthropy. So I was really excited to have that opportunity. We had a really great conversation. I learned a ton. And that was at the conference in DC they were speaking at. And at the end, I felt disappointed, and I couldn't figure out why, because it was this big, hairy, audacious goal. I accomplished the goal way faster than I thought I was going to. And at the end, I was like, oh, well, was that it? And I was really kind of digging deep and trying to figure out what the issue was. And I realized when I was a teenager, I saw Miss Mariah Carey on MTV Cribs on Necker Island for her episode. And in my head, I thought of this conversation as something that was happening at Necker Island. And so that is very, very much a first world problem that I got to have this interview, but not in that space. A couple months later, I got an invitation to go to Necker Island for a convening that was on the future of good, and then got an ask to speak at that conference, and attended and got to spend the week with Sir Richard Branson and a bunch of other change makers, and learned a ton. And it really was this transformative experience. And when I was leaving the island, we have to take this boat to go to a different island where you can catch a plane. And the boat slowed down for a minute because Richard Branson was kiteboarding wearing a tuxedo in front of us because there was some sort of photo shoot or something that was happening. And so he let go of it and waved.
Yeah, just
I was leaving. And I was like, this is what I meant.
kiteboarding in a tuxedo, of course. How else would you kiteboard?
Obviously.
How else?
And I
Yeah.
was like, this is what I meant. When I said that I wanted to interview Richard Branson, this is what I meant. Him kiteboarding and us being able to have conversations about what the future of philanthropy looks like and how to create change in a world that's rapidly transforming. So it's been a real gift to be connected to the community that is tied around the work that's happening on Necker Island, and was able to go back, and I'll be going back again next year. And the second time I went back, I was able to share the book with him, which he's featured in, which was a real gift.
Oh, that's great. Now, you've also done, Necker Island isn't the extent of your international travel. You have been, I think you said this is a
That
picture
one's
of
in
you.
Brazil.
in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you were doing there.
So there's a world conference that is really about ending racial inequity that happens every couple of years, and this one was held in Brazil. I brought a group of foundations with me for that conference, both to learn from a global perspective about what does it look like to end racial inequity, and then see the huge challenges and opportunities that exist in Brazil. And so often I will take groups of change makers on things that we call field trips to the future, where you take them somewhere to see what the future could look like in action. And this was an opportunity really to jump into what does a more equitable future look like? What is our responsibility in that future, and what are the possibilities?
How fun! How fun! You've done just some amazing things. As you think about your work today, you've set up a firm, Future
Yeah.
Good. Tell us a little bit about the nature of the work you're doing there.
Yeah, FutureGood is about 5 years old, and we are a consultancy that helps visionary leaders build a more beautiful and equitable future. So we do that through strategic planning and strategic visioning work. We help people understand future trends that are going to impact the transformation and change that they want to create in the future. And most importantly, we teach people how to use futurism skills in their work. So when I started my own futurism learning journey, what I realized is there were not other people from the social sector in those spaces. There was only people from the business sector figuring out what we want to purchase next, and from the government figuring out who's going to hate us next. But people that do good for a living, our whole job is to change the trajectory of the future. And we didn't have access to what I think is the most useful tools, futurism tools, to be able to do that. And so in my learning journey, it's been really about how to harness those tools and ensure that they're accessible to people that work in the sector. And so instead of, I speak at a lot of social sector conferences, and I love going and saying, here's what I think the future is going to bring. But what is even better is when people in that local community, or experts on early childhood education, or experts on the future of rural communities or transportation, they learn the futurism tools, and they're able to say, here's what I think is coming next. Here's what I'm noticing. Here's my highest hopes for our ideal future. And so through Future Good Studio, we train people in a 3-month time period in a cohort of peers how to use these tools in their work and really supercharge their impact.
I think it's just, it's amazing work that you're doing. And it's been so great to chat with you. Folks, we're going to come back to visit more with Trista about her superpower, but we're going to take a short break here just to show a couple of key messages here. But when we come back, we're going to talk to her about her superpower. So stick around. Learn how to build stronger communities with investment crowdfunding on December 20th at 1 Eastern. Dorian Dickinson, founder and CEO of Funding Hope, will explain how to use investment crowdfunding as a tool for community building. Register today at thesupercrowd.com. We're grateful for the support of our sponsors and co-hosts.
Ever wonder if you can raise money with a community round on WeFunder? It may not be as tricky as you think. You can start right now. Start in under 2 minutes. Visit wefunder.s4g.biz or scan the QR code to begin. Give it a try.
Want to learn from the world's great change makers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com. Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Trista Harris. She is the president of FutureGood and also the author of the book by the same name. Just a fascinating discussion we've had with her, but we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk to her about her superpower. Trista, you really have done amazing things. And, we've been talking about your experience with Richard Branson, and that's pretty cool. Amazing stuff you've done. What is your superpower?
So my superpower is helping other people predict and shape the future. It took a really long time for me to get to the bottom of that piece of it is really about other change makers in the world. And I remember I had a great executive coach, and I was stressing out during this same fellowship that I talked about earlier, because I still had resources left and time left. And I had done all the things that I said I was going to do. And I was feeling a lot of sort of stress and strain about this. And the coach said, go to a beach and write about what you learned. Why are you so stressed? And I said, I haven't figured out how to solve all of the problems yet. And so if I've got time and resources, I should learn a new tool or do a new thing. And she goes, I understand what the problem is. She said, just so you know, Jesus and Gandhi were both on earth. They did great things, and there's still things left to be done. And so maybe you should lower the bar for yourself about the change that you have to create in the world. And that really helped me to get to this place of my superpower is really about helping people in the social sector use futurism skills. And they do amazing things with these tools. And my work is just helping them get smarter as they're doing that, instead of me needing to fix all of the problems in the world.
Well, that's genius. I think a lot of us, I know I certainly feel at times like I'm personally responsible for
100%.
solving all of the world's problems. And in a way, I'm glad, I'm even proud of feeling some personal responsibility.
Yes.
But at the same time, it can be overwhelming. You feel like, oh, I'm making no progress.
Yes.
Someone else was mean to someone else today, and there's just an infinite number of problems. You can't solve them all. So I appreciate that you've been able to identify a way to help other people and to get that leverage and the ripple, so you don't feel the entire burden on your own shoulders. I wonder if you could think of a specific example of someone that you helped, perhaps that faced a real serious challenge.
Yeah.
And you were able to help them see a new tool, a new path, some future tool, I think you called it, that would allow them to move forward toward a solution that was helpful. Can you think of an example to share?
For sure. So I host mastermind retreats, and it is for people in the social sector that want to figure out their next level of impact and transformation. And my very first mastermind retreat was in Northern California, and one of the participants said, maybe I want to run for office. I'm not sure. Somebody else that was at the retreat, she had run for office before unsuccessfully. And so we had a really engaging conversation that lasted over many hours about the challenges of running for office. The woman that had run previously said, it is hard. You have people personally attacking you. She had young kids at the time. She said, it took all of this time and energy. You really struggled to get your name out there. And at the end, I didn't win. And it was a huge disappointment. You've put your heart and soul into something. And then at the end, you don't have this role that you were so hopeful about. And it was probably like 2:00 in the morning by then. And we said, oh, we should go to bed. It's late. And we started to go up the steps, and she turned around and said, but every single leadership opportunity that I have had since then has come from this fact that I decided to step out and say, I am willing to lead, and here's the things that I care about. And everything is different and better because I made that choice. And we were like, you buried the lead. And she said, I want to make sure you knew what you were getting into if you decided to do this. And so soon after the retreat, this woman decided to run, and we fundraised for her, and we had a group chat of encouragement. One of the members of the mastermind became her finance chair for her campaign. And she was elected the youngest and the only Filipino-American woman that had ever been on the county board for Hennepin County, which is the largest county in Minnesota. At that same time, because she decided to run, other women of color decided to run. And both of them were the first people of color that were ever elected to that board in our state's history. She now does national work around counties and still has this position. And she's creating amazing transformation and change in the world because she made a decision to jump into her leadership. And I think for me, it is creating the space where people can think about their long-term impact. When you look back at the end of your career, what do you want to accomplish? What's the change that you wanted to create in the world? And what are the things that you're doing today that make that future possible? So I am so proud of the many amazing things that participants in those masterminds have decided to do, including switching sectors and writing books and starting businesses and deciding to adopt babies and deciding to be a thought leader on work-life balance for women in the sector. Like, there are amazing things that have come out of people just giving themselves a couple of days to imagine something different.
Oh, that's great. It's really helpful. Now, quickly, I want to just ask, what tips can you give us? Your superpower is helping people use future tools. Give us a couple of tips here as we wrap up.
For sure. So I'd encourage you to set aside 5% of your time for the future. So during that time, set Google alerts for yourself, future of whatever the topic is that you're interested in. If you have a really innovative organization that does similar work to yours in a different state or a different country, get their e-newsletter. And then in that couple hours a week, I like Friday afternoons because it's a little bit quieter, read those articles and read those things that are coming through Google Alerts and start to ask yourself, what might this mean for our organization? What is possible as a result of this different vision of the future? And what should we be doing now? And if an organization can have lots of staff members that are starting to do that and share what they're learning on a Slack channel or in Chatter and Salesforce or that sort of thing, if you start to link articles and say, I think for us it might mean this, and somebody else on your team says it might be this, it gives you a clearer picture of what's possible in the future. It also allows you to harness what can feel like challenges and volatility to get you faster to the future that you are really hopeful for. And I think that's where real transformation and change comes in the sector, is when we have a clear picture of, here's what it looks like if we're successful 30 to 50 years in the future. If we fully met our mission, what does that look like? For many of our organizations, we don't have a shared picture of what that future looks like, which in the present means we're doing lots of different activities, pushing in lots of different ways because we're not moving towards the same picture of the future.
Yeah, brilliant advice. Thank you so much. As we wrap up here, I wonder if you would take just a minute and tell people how they can learn more about your work, how they can engage with you, how they can get your book, where they can follow you on social media. Take a minute here and make sure people know how they can best follow up with you. Okay.
Yeah. So we're on all of the social medias at We Are Future Good. Our website is wearefuturegood.com, and there you can sign up for a newsletter. Every month we're sharing different trends that we're paying attention to. We host mastermind retreats. We also host Future Good Fest, which is a virtual version of the mastermind retreat where you can use the same tools and take that time for yourself at home instead of in beautiful Palm Springs, where we're going to be this year. And then the Future Good book is available anywhere that books are sold. We have it on our website, but you can get it from any of your local booksellers.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so grateful that you would take the time to be with us today.
We
love the work that you're doing, and I look forward to reading your book and to subscribing to your newsletter and getting your advice and counsel, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I have some gray whiskers, and I'm eager to figure out how to plan for a future. I think it's easy for people of a certain age, some of whom resemble me, to think of the future as your problem, the problem of the next generation. And yet I expect to be around another 30 years. Yep. I think I have some stake in the future. So I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to follow. Going to learn from you, going to read your book. So we want to see you succeed in all the great work that you're doing. So thank you very, very much for being with us today.
Devin, thanks for having me. And thanks for all that you're doing to build a more beautiful and equitable future.
All righty. Let's do some good.